Can we talk about the croaking and Florence and the Machine's Big God? Like, what's up with the croaking? So there are two versions of the song. There's the music video, which a lot of times music videos are a lot different from the songs they put out, like how Donald Glover's This Is America, there aren't any gunshots in the actual album release of it, which is disappointing. But for my purposes, the croaking in the music video is downplayed like a lot, and instead they put in some like heaving and some breathing noises, which is alright, but I think it's hard to do like on an album, but has a better effect on the screen. But if you listen to the album version on Google, whatever music streaming sites you do that doesn't take it from the music video, you'll hear some croaking at the end, and this super got my attention. Because this is a noise that I made up when I was like 4. That's croaking. It's like the noise a frog or a lizard makes, right? Right? You're with me? Why is that in a song released in 2018? Is art pop the reason why? So Florence and the Machine, stylized version, Florence plus side the Machine, is a band, but it's mostly this woman called Florence Welch and whatever Machine. Their new album has 2 songs that I really loved. Hunger, which is based off a poem she wrote, which I figured all music is poetry, but I guess there's a slight difference when it comes to source, I suppose, you know. And then there's Big God, and you know me with how much I love the God theme, and just to smother it over everything until it has no value. I've heard a few of their songs on the radio, but they were just kind of okay. I didn't love them like I ended up loving Hunger and Big God, because they're big, they're heavy songs, they're slow moving. I listened to it. I listened it out. It's a slow 4/4 time, and this, I don't know a lot about music theory. I only sang a little bit. I don't know about the instrument bits of it, but I can read a thing, and I can recognize it by ear sometimes by the beat if I pay attention and I don't suck. But I guess this one on, because it's kind of easy. Like, we're gonna get some rock band skills right now. The piano hits that nice low keyed on the 4th beat when it comes in, and you just feel this dragging gravity from the song, because it's a song about this big idea of how much you need. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's great. And then I'm dancing to this heavy song, and that is why it's so fantastic. It's so specific. It's so weird, right? Like, there's this big heavy song but has a beat, and you can move and you can dance to it. Like, most of the music I listen to is admittedly sad and is perhaps danceable, but I listen to it while I write and I work, and I don't move about it. Somehow I have disconnected in my mind dancing to music. That's not entirely true. The song takes its time. The piano takes every line of the meter to strike a key or to wait, and you feel the weight when it's not there, and that's music, but it's also excellent. So this song just has a bunch of layers of different things that just give it the same kind of vibrato, give it the same grandiose, it makes it feel big. The piano, the brass, the chorus, a bit of drums. The music video really knocks it out of the park in like mood, in that it's a bunch of women dancing in this dark void, and their clothes are see-through, because to God everything is see-through, and it's also fantastic. Big God is all about some big old deities and some big old godlike themes. So the music and the choices and the rests and the pauses in the music have all made this huge platter for Florence to then sing her words of the big themes about God and gods that they can do. And to be clear, all you the silly Christians, when I say God, I mean the wide, vague God. When I want to talk about your God specifically, I'll say Jehovah, for the God of for the God of Israel or Christians or the Muslims. I'll talk about your God specifically by one of his silly. The lyrics make numerous references to huge natural phenomena, natural occurrences, natural disasters, or acts of God. Mountains are important to all kind of cults and scriptures as a place where mortals can kind of commune to the God out of the way, and you have to intentionally go there for a purpose. The allusions to things sliding in the sea is about things crumbling over time, about the timelessness of the earth or gods or these big concepts that are beyond us and what they do and what they have seen and what they perhaps even can cause. It's the march of time that all mortals are subject to, but perhaps not gods, or at least not our ideas of gods themselves. There are references to several of these conditions of life, the best of the best and the worst of the worst, and how we as mortals can sometimes feel it as futility to change it, and that it needs a miracle or an act of God in order to do it. But most often, we can make things worse and have ourselves to blame for it. It is very reminiscent to me to some of the poetry in the Old Testament, how Jehovah claims to be the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the best and the worst. Maybe even to pagan gods, where there'd be a whole pantheon, and not all of them would be good. In fact, most of them would be flawed and probably bad people, as they have exaggerated characteristics. The best of the best, the most athletic, the most warlike, the most strong, smartest, or the most hateful, the most fearful, the most cowardice, the most sneaky. Depending on the culture, any of those attributes could be good, positive or negative. There are several cultures that value cunning above all others. That's their best. I remember a story about a missionary who went to a group of people and they liked trickster gods the best. So when he was telling them stories of the Bible, Satan seemed like the best because he was tricking everyone. He was the most clever. They had to switch their strategy and emphasize God's cleverness and Jesus' cleverness and how these things work and how they win at the end. You really have to know your audience for that kind of stuff. To bring it back to Jehovah, several Christians and former Christians and non-Christians struggle with the concept of evil. How can Jehovah be perfectly strong, smart, powerful, and all-knowing and then still let evil things happen? He has to either not care or he has to be the worst in that way. I love the beginning because there's also a reference to the quietness of any gods. Messages aren't received or given. They're not readily there. They were happened in the past, but you personally don't hear from God. And if you do, I don't want to hear about it. I want to talk to crazy people. And of course, the implication of that quietness, the doubt in the back of your mind, the thing that you need to push away and fight is that God might not be there. Now I'm going to take a mixture of singing and speaking to go over the lines of the song so you can listen to them, and next time you hear the song you can kind of take it in. Or you can listen to the song now. I don't care, it's up to you. You do whatever those magical tabs do. I should also say, these lyrics were transcribed by me. I didn't go to any official lyric site to figure it out. So if there's a weird word thing and it's different, then that's on me. I'm also not going to take it too hard. Once we go over the whole song, I'll solve the mystery of the croaking. Perhaps, maybe, in my opinion. You need a big God, big enough to hold your love. You need a big God, big enough to fill you up. You keep me up at night. To my messages you do not reply. You know I still like you the most. The best of the best and the worst of the worst. Well, you can never know the places that I can go. I still like you the most. You will always be my favorite ghost. You need a big God, Big enough to hold your love. You need a big God, big enough to fill you up. Sometimes I think it's getting better. Sometimes it gets much worse. Is it just part of the process? Jesus Christ, this hurts. Though I know I should know better, I can make this worse. Is it just part of the process? Jesus Christ, it hurts. You need a big God, big enough to hold your love. You need a big God, big enough to fill you up. Show me your affection, let it rain on me, and pull down the mountains or your cities to the sea. Show me your affection, let it rain on me. Don't leave me on this white cliff. Let it slide down to the sea. And there's croaking till the end of the song. So it's the last one that got my attention, but I tried to mimic that there are actually 2 more times where the croak happens. It's right there. In the second line of the song, she croaks on God, and then she croaks on God again in the second chorus of the song. What is this croaking? I haven't heard it in songs before, and I listened to a bunch of the back catalog of Florence the Machine, and I didn't hear croaking in those songs either. Croaking is most associated with reptiles like frogs and toads and crows in some culture, both of which have occult importance. Frogs were plagues on Egypt. Croaking is also, and here's a heavy one that might surprise you, but to match the heavy tone of the song, croaking is also a euphemism for death. Croaking like noise might come from a person's mouth as air escapes their lungs for the last time. Also perhaps known as a death rattle, a kind of rattle. You're croaking, you're dead. I shouldn't be excited about it. Now it's time for the pedantic people section. Pedantic people, because you can't interpret art. You have to ask what it was for. Pedantic people, because you have to be told what a thing means, and only by one person, and cannot look at the art and see what the art is telling you artfully. You have to have someone tell you what to think. This is for you, pedantics. So Florence, when talking about the song Hunger in an interview with Universal Music, said, "I quite like the idea of putting a big unanswerable question in a pop song, because you might not be able to answer it, but you can dance to it." And then about the specific religious and occult themes, Florence was specifically asked about it in USA Today in their July 2018 issue. Although many of her songs have religious elements, she doesn't follow a particular religion. "I went to Catholic school, and the first songs I remember liking were hymns. I find it's nice to mix the mundane and the magical, the irrelevant with the huge themes, sex, love, death, marriage, guilt. Mix that with seeing a huge sky, or going for a walk, or turning the page of a book. Living is dealing with the everyday, and the notion that you're going to die." So is that it? Just the croaking is an allusion to death? Yes, and maybe not. Truth resists simplicity, so it can actually be for multiple reasons. And the reason that I'm going to put forward, I found out when researching my rough theory that it's 4/4 timed. I grabbed the sheet music, and I noted this neat little thing. So this lower one, it's the lower notes. Duke, 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 duke of Earl. And this higher one, this higher notes. Duke of Earl, Duke of Earl. The higher notes tend to carry longer, which is why I blew out my mic. I'm sorry. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. So the second God in both of the verses where she croaks is a really low verse. And I think she's using the croak as a vocal technique to hit that lower note and kind of stay on it. You can do a scale like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Like, do ti tho so. You know, at that point you have to go real low. It's kind of croaky. There's a similar vocal technique for going high called vibrato, and that's where like a voice kind of shakes when you hear it. If you ever heard, a lot of opera will use it. Not very many pop songs will use it, and I'm glad, because I kind of hate it. I don't love it. I can't really do it. I can't do it very well. Maybe I'll look up a clip. My kingdom for a bottle. Oh, kind of like that. I'm sorry, it's bad. I'm sorry, it's bad. I can't. That's not my range. That's not what I do, and I hate it, so I'm not going to practice it. I think Florence also did this she found herself doing that when trying to hit those low notes in this song, because it is a low, bassy, powerful song. So instead of like forcing it, I think she kind of used that croak in order to get it out. God. When you're writing or practicing or singing music, you sing it and write it and practice it a lot, several times a day, 20 times in a row for hours. So she had to hold those low notes for hours, and she practiced it because it's just at the bottom of her range. A range is the notes that you can sing at. High notes, low notes, that's a range. So in order to stay down and walk down to those low notes, she kind of croaked it out. I'm guessing she might have liked it or had a little fun with it, because then she brings it out and she uses it to close the song with. I'm sure it's not that big a deal that if someone just asked her, they would tell them, but it's also not that big a deal. So just don't bother Florence with my silly video. Maybe, so it isn't the most pressing thing to say it on Twitter, but it's just a neat thing I noticed. And I noticed several more neat things, and I put them in video essays and vlogs similar to this one. Subscribe for more. Hit a like button if you made it through the end and you thought this was kind of cool or you really like the song. Tell me your favorite Florence and the Machine album, or tell me other songs where you've noticed weird croaking or other weird visual techniques, because I wanna listen to them, because it's weird and it's neat. Yeah? Have a good day. Start recording.